What's up? I'm Kris Farrow. I'm here today in Helotes, Texas with John Newsome from the Casey Donahew Band. What's up, John?
Hey, how are you?
Very good. We're going to start with the guitars first. You got some badass ones, and we're going to check them out. So pick whichever one you like first.
Okay, well, this is number one right here, my Les Paul, it's a R9, 59 reissue. And yeah, I love this thing. It's play it most of the night right now. So
Is it all stock, all the pickups stock?
everything is stock in it. That's right. Yep.
And it looks like you don't clean them very often. Some people like that.
Yeah, I kind of want to see what happens over time with this thing. So I'm trying not to touch it too much. So
Okay, and do you do you keep it on the treble pickup most of the night, or do you change that?
yeah, I'll do a little bit of neck too, but mainly the treble. I think it's got I think these come with the burst buckers, maybe the two, I think. So, and they sound great.
And do you ever do anything, particularly with the treble position, do you ever do anything with the tone knobs, rolling them back or anything?
Well, not the tone knobs, but I'm messing with the volume all night. And same with all my guitars. I'm cleaning it up with my volume just about the whole show.
Yeah, because depending on the type of pickup, if most of them, when you roll off the volume, it does change the tone a little bit anyway.
Yeah, I've had a problem before with a lot of them with losing the high end, but this one maintains the high end. So do my juniors over here too. So.
And so this is the one you play most of the night. So most of the key songs that people like when they come hear your band, this is what they're hearing.
That's right, because unlike some Les Pauls I played, I can actually get some pretty good twang out of this thing. So I can actually get by with doing some country stuff, but it can rock too. So, yeah.
Okay, cool. Let's see what the next one is.
And this is my Rock and Roll Relics Thunders 1, which is incredible. I actually do the really country stuff with this, and I play any telly stuff with this thing. So it's this thing feels incredible. Stainless steel frets. It's got a David Allen Cool Cat P90 in here, I believe.
And can you buy Rock and Roll Relics anywhere, in a store or anywhere? Where did you get that?
Yeah, actually, I got this from a rep of theirs, and he builds them in California, but they're in a few stores around, and like around here they may have some in Lark or something like that, but a few boutique stores would have them. So.
And same thing with this. You do mostly, if you adjust stuff, it's with the volume knob.
Oh yeah, and when you clean this thing up, it's amazing how much like a telly it sounds. It really does. So it's kind of my twang machine right now.
Okay, well that's interesting. Not too many guys will play twangy stuff on something like this.
Yeah, I know. It rocks too, but it can get a little bit noisy. But it's great. So.
Well, it looks awesome. I know that much so far. All right, what do we got next?
And then I'm doing the same thing with this 357. Martin Moore is building these. This is actually his first one. I think he's got, 357 Les Paul Jr. 1 right here. And he did a great job with this thing. And he winds these pickups. They're all about the same output. So whenever I switch guitars, I don't change one thing on the amps or the pedal board or anything. It's all pretty even. But if you feel the neck on this thing,
it's pretty solid there.
It's like the biggest baseball neck I've ever.
Yeah, half a baseball bat style. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I do the same with this.
And so, so for example, if you're playing the Les Paul most of the night, but what are the songs that when people come and they hear you playing twang your stuff on one of those two guitars? Like which songs would those be?
Okay, so the really country stuff I would do, like No Doubt and Double Wide Dream and stuff like that. If somebody recorded just straight telly chicken picking stuff, then that's when I did the junior. Mainly the older stuff. The newer album was mainly Les Paul, and so the newer stuff is all Les Paul. But.
And do you play acoustic at all during the night?
I don't.
No, I don't either.
Darren does, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't do it either. That's for the birds. Okay, so now we'll move on to your. Oh, you got another one. Oh, fantastic.
This one I'm actually. Here, I'll bring it in here. James Gregg, who lives right down the road from me, and
featured prominently in our previous Chasin the Tone.
A lot of these. He may be in half of these things, but this is actually one of the first ones he built. But I was just trying to pick up. He uses this guitar to try different pickup winds. So I was just trying this one. It's a low wind, but he's got 2 different magnets in this bridge, and it's really interesting. It's extremely clear, and it's got a good punch to it. So I tried it a little bit last night. Darren's going to try it tonight. So he's going to do a build for me, and we're trying to get pickups figured out. So
it might come in to where you'd be using this or whatever he builds for you instead of the other ones.
Instead of probably the Junior. So anything I'd play the Junior on, I'd probably play this with. So.
Well, that's awesome. Dusty Gregg makes an appearance once again, so please look him up. Information will be in the description for this video. Okay, John, so here we are now with your pedal boards like mission control over here. This is intimidating to somebody just coming up. They probably look at that and go, yep, I mean, that looks like what I would want, but I don't know what's going on here. So please explain to us what you got going on here.
Yeah, I've destroyed my entire house over things. My den, my kitchen is all like parts and wires and everything, trying to get this thing together. So it's this is like, I think, the 3rd or 4th I've had on the road with Casey, but I've had this one since about January and haven't touched a thing on it. And it's all that Boss ES8 is kind of what makes the whole thing. So yeah, this pedal board's been great so far.
So do you have everything, all of these pedals going into that Boss so that you can control them like that, or what's happening here?
Okay, so I've got the wireless going into the Boss, and then in the Boss I've got, see, the January, the Carpe Diem, Tumnus, JHS Boost, the Cali 76 Comp, Morning Glory, and the Friedman are all my loops in the Boss. And in there, in the Boss, and you can even do an effects loop if you want to. You can do an effects loop out to your amp, and then back into the Boss and control which effects you want to use in your effects loop of the amp. Now in there I can pull up my patches on the S8, and I can look at the level of each one. I can make one louder than the other. I can change the decibel level of each one. I can also change the order. So sometimes I'll have a boost before or after a gain, etc. So it does everything. It's amazing.
Okay. And so tell us, for example, again, on the, let's say you're using your Les Paul, which is going to be a little higher gain, a little higher output from the pickups, I would assume, than your other 2 guitars. Is that correct?
Actually, it's the same output as the Junior. It's a lower output humbucker, and then my Junior is a higher output. So they're both around the 8K range, and it's got kind of a similar, I mean, the high end's about the same. The gain's about the same, and I don't change anything on there. They respond.
Okay, yeah, I remember you said that now. So when you go from a song where you're using your Les Paul and it's a little more rockin', let's say, and then you go to a song where you're quote unquote replicating the twangier sound, if you don't change anything, then all of the change is coming from adjusting your volume. Is that correct on your guitar?
It would be that, and then a combination of pedals out here. Like I have one main twang setting, like patch number 1 right there would be slapback on the timeline, room reverb on the Eventide, the Cali 76 Comp, and the Morning Glory.
Okay.
Light overdrive, because my amps are both running clean. So I would do that for the telly, for the Junior stuff. Now for the Les Paul, I would go to 3 for, like, I would have the January, kind of a long delay on the timeline, a little bit of Hall reverb, and yeah, that'd be about it. I only use comp for the country stuff. Okay,
so in other words, then, if you're using a little higher gain and something a little more rock and roll, then the compression is out.
Compression's out. Yeah, I only use that on the lowest gain, which is the Morning Glory, and every now and then I'll do it with the Les Paul, but it's mainly the country stuff, and the rest of it, either the January or the Carpe Diem.
And what do you not like about having compression on in the higher gain type stuff?
Well, it's just a little bit too. Okay, like I'll be using the Carpe Diem for the heavier stuff, and it sounds like I'm plugging straight into my amp and just cranking the amp. And when I use the comp, it kind of takes away from that. It kind of squashes the humbuckers a little too much, especially for lead stuff. It doesn't scream the way I want it to. Kind of tames it. So.
I completely understand. I feel exactly the same way, but it's always curious. I'm always curious to hear what people think about it. Okay, and then we'll move on to your amps if you don't have more to tell us here.
Sure, yeah.
Okay, cool. Okie doke. So here we are. I already like what I'm seeing over here. I'm excited to hear about this. So go ahead, John. Tell us all about this stuff.
Okay, well, I'm running these heads stereo into this 212. So on my pedal board over there, I've got, out of my ES8, I've got 2 cables coming in here to each one of these heads, because I've got the MIDI from my ES8 controlling my Strymon and my Eventide, and then those are both running stereo back to my looper and stereo out to these heads.
I hope everybody made a diagram of that.
So I've got one going into this. It's a 74 Bassman 50 that I've got just running on the edge of breakup. It's clean. If I tear into it, I can almost get a little bit of breakup. And then this divided by 13 is an RPB. So on one side, it's got EL34s, which is what I'm running, kind of the plexi style of their heads. And then on the other side, it's also got a 6v6 power section, which goes to the a different wattage. I think it's like whatever. It cuts the wattage in half, so I want to say maybe 15 or 20 watts or something like that. And then you've got like an AC30 side, so you can do the EF86 preamp section. So the back is just filled with tubes. It's got all kind of different combinations. So I'll run each one of these into one of my speakers in this 212. So I've got the Bassman going into a Creamback and
Celestion.
That's right. And then I got the divided by 13 going into a different Celestion, a Greenback. And then they're mic'd up. One's got a 421 and one's got a 609.
Okay, and so how are you, like, you have all these different choices in just these 2 heads here, but so how are you using those with different guitars for different songs, et cetera, et cetera?
Well, so I'm controlling that basically with the pedal board. So whatever guitar I use, both heads will be running the whole time. I don't do an A-B switch or anything. They're both running, and they're both powering. Both of these speakers are going, and all the gains will be going evenly to these, and then the reverbs and delays will be run stereo, so they'll be kind of swirling with the speakers. So. And
do you specifically use different, use the Bassman or the divided by 13 specifically for different guitars that you're using?
No. So no matter what guitar I'm using, they'll both be going. And I kind of have them at a pretty even EQ, and then any tweaking I'll do with the pedals.
So they're actually both being blended the whole entire time? The
whole time, that's right.
So it was sort of complicated getting to it, but the actual setup is not very complicated.
That's right. It's I got as even of an EQ as I could find. They're both on the edge of breakup, but they both have completely different voices. The Bassman and the divided by 13 have such a different sound, and they react differently to my gains. So
my gains.
Yeah, so they both have a pretty good punch when they're together. I mean, the rig is pretty wild sounding whenever it's all running. So.
And now the mics aren't on it now, but when there are mics on it, how many are you using? Do you know what they are, and do you have any specific way you like to set them up?
Yeah, I got a 421 on the Greenback and then a 609 on the Creamback, and yeah, that's.
Do you specifically put them off center or this or that, like real nerdy shit here? Do you?
Well, the 421 is almost at the center. The 609 is a little off center and right on the grill. So.
Well, that's badass, dude. So this has been our Chasing the Tone with John Newsome. He's got pretty fancy setup all around here, which not everybody does. For myself, mine's much simpler. And this goes to show that whether it was Caleb Keeter, who has no amp at all, whether it's John, who has an old school amp, a new school amp, a zillion pedals, whatever it is, it can all sound awesome if you use it right. And that's what we're trying to show you here. So thanks a lot, John. I appreciate it, man. And we'll see you down the road.